What if I told you the end of the world was not just a fantasy? What if it happened once before? Because humanity was too wicked to be saved. In a time long ago, before the flood that would wipe away civilization, there was a world full of unimaginable evil, where beauty was used for destruction, and the hearts of humans were corrupted beyond repair, and the wickedness of man had reached its peak. A world where the very sons of God mingled with the daughters of men, creating a race of giants known as the Nephilim, beings of great power and terrifying wickedness. They were the heroes of old? Or were they monsters, born of forbidden union? The earth was filled with violence, murder, deceit, and corruption everywhere you looked. The cries of the innocent reached the heavens, and God regretted ever creating mankind. But amidst the chaos, there was one man, a single soul who found favor in the eyes of the Lord. His name was Noah, blameless, righteous. He walked faithfully with God, while the rest of the world gave itself over to darkness. The earth, however, had been corrupted by human hands, and the time for mercy had passed. God would not contend with mankind forever. No more pleading, no more second chances. The wickedness was so great that God decided to destroy it all. The people, the creatures, the very earth itself. But then, just as the storm of destruction began to gather, God made an extraordinary offer. To Noah alone, he gave a command that would change the course of history. Build an ark. Save your family and the creatures of the earth. For a storm like no other is coming. God warned Noah that in 7 days, the heavens would open and the earth would crack. He was to take 7 pairs of every clean animal and 1 pair of each unclean animal, along with every bird, every creature with wings, and the beasts that crawled upon the ground. It was the last chance for life on earth, but Noah obeyed, gathering every living creature, following every instruction without question. 7 days. That was all that stood between Noah and the end of the world. The ark would be no ordinary vessel. It would be a sanctuary, a place of salvation amid the coming deluge. 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. Noah's heart raced with every swing of the hammer. What was he truly building? A symbol of hope or a coffin for all life? Each piece of the ark was built with purpose. Rooms for safety, a roof to protect them from the rain, and an opening high enough to allow the breath of life to survive the coming storm. But would it be enough? Would this ancient ship, this fortress of wood, save them all from the destruction that was certain to come? His family entered the ark. And then, the most miraculous thing of all, 7 of every kind of creature, male and female, came to Noah. It was as if the entire world of animals had heard the call of fate. They marched into the ark with a kind of eerie obedience, their future now bound to the survival of mankind. Could this truly work? Would the ark, filled with food and life, weather the storm? Noah had never seen anything like this before. And yet, in the deepest pit of his soul, he knew this was the last chance. The world's last hope rested in this boat. And then it began. The sky darkened. The earth itself trembled. Thunder rumbled across the heavens, and the first drop of rain fell. It was a drop of fate. And then the deluge began. Torrential rain, rising waters, and howling winds. A violent outpouring from the sky, like the very heavens had been unleashed upon the world. It was too late for the wicked. The earth was drowning in its own corruption. The wickedness they had sown now flooded back upon them, and the cries of those left behind were drowned by the roaring tide. Their shame, their envy, their hatred, none of it mattered now. For 40 days and 40 nights, the rain fell relentlessly. Noah's ark began to rise, drifting higher and higher, as the waters consumed everything. Mountains, once towering high above the earth, were drowned beneath the waves. And with every rise of the water, humanity's destruction became more certain. The screams of the people, those who had rejected the warning, were silenced by the deafening roar of the flood. The animals, the birds, the creatures of the earth, they all perished. Everything with the breath of life was gone. The entire world drowned in sorrow, and not a soul was left but Noah and those with him. How could it have come to this? The earth had been filled with violence, greed, and hatred. The people had rejected the mercy of God, choosing their own wickedness over salvation. Now, they paid the price for their choices. What kind of world had they built? A world where only destruction awaited them. Their sins had sunk them to the depths, and now there was no escape from the rising waters. Through it all, Noah's faithfulness was rewarded. He and his family were safe. They were the last remnants of humanity, the last chance for a new beginning. The world he had known was gone. The entire earth had been wiped clean of life, and in its place was an endless ocean. The flood had destroyed it all. The true horror wasn't in the flood. It was in knowing the world he knew was lost forever. And after 40 days and 40 nights, the storm ceased. The ark rested on the mountains of Ararat. The world had been cleansed, and a new covenant was born, a promise from God to never again destroy the earth in such a way. From this moment, a new chapter began, a chance for redemption, for healing, and for life. The wickedness of the past had been washed away, and in its place stood a future filled with promise and love. But remember, the flood came not just because of wickedness, but because of God's unyielding justice and mercy. With trembling hands, Noah opened a window. The raven was his first test. He sent it out, watching as it flew, seeking a place to rest. But it didn't return. Was the world still flooded? Was there no hope left? What if there was nowhere left for them to go? The days felt like an eternity. Noah's heart sank each time the raven didn't return. And when he sent out a dove, the little bird couldn't find a single place to rest. The earth was still a vast, desolate ocean. Every horizon stretched endlessly into a cold, unbroken sea. But then, after 7 long days, the raven returned. And in its beak an olive leaf, a symbol, a sign that the earth was healing. Noah's heart raced. The water was receding. The earth was beginning to breathe once more. Hope surged through him. He had waited so long, endured so much, and finally, the promise of a new world was within reach. Noah didn't wait long. He sent the dove out again, and this time, it didn't return. It was free. The earth was ready. The waters had finally dried up. By the first day of Noah's 601st year, the ark was no longer a floating prison. The earth was dry. The land had been restored. God spoke to Noah, the man who had faithfully followed his commands through the darkest storm. "Come out of the ark," he said. "You and your family, bring out the creatures, and let them multiply on the earth once again." Noah stepped out, his family following. The animals emerged, every kind, from the smallest insect to the grandest bird. The earth, now silent but full of potential, breathed again. It was time to rebuild. And so, Noah built an altar, a symbol of gratitude. He took the clean animals and birds, offering them to God in sacrifice. And in that moment, the air was filled with the pleasing aroma of devotion. God, seeing Noah's heart, promised that the earth would never again face such destruction. The seasons would continue. There would always be seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night. And with that promise, the world was reborn. Out of that silence, God spoke to Noah, and what he said would echo through the ages, a promise to never again destroy the world with floodwaters. But with this promise came a command. God blessed Noah and his sons. "Be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth," he said. For the first time in a long while, the earth seemed to breathe again. The fear and dread of humankind would fall upon every living creature. Animals, birds, fish, all under Noah's command. Everything would now be at their disposal. Everything. But there was one crucial command. Do not eat meat with its lifeblood still in it. The blood, the very life force, was sacred. And God's wrath would fall on those who shed innocent blood, human or animal. There would be consequences. For those who take the life of another, their own blood would be demanded by human hands. God had made mankind in his image, and human life held an unparalleled sacredness. The law of life and death had been set. But there was also good news, a promise of life, of hope. "Be fruitful and multiply," God repeated. He wanted Noah's descendants to thrive, to increase upon the earth, to rebuild what was lost. And then, God made a promise that would define all of humanity. A covenant. a bond that would never be broken. God declared, "I will never again destroy life with a flood." The waters of the great flood would never rise again. The earth would remain, and life would endure. As a sign of this eternal promise, God set a rainbow in the sky. And whenever clouds gathered and the rainbow appeared, it would remind him of his vow to never again wipe out all living creatures. God would see the rainbow and remember the covenant he made with Noah, with his descendants, with every living thing on earth. The rainbow would be the symbol of life, the symbol of love and hope. God's promise was clear, and it was for all time. "This is the sign of the covenant," he said. The rainbow, forever, would remind us all of God's faithfulness, of his commitment to life, to love, and to the earth he created. The flood had washed the earth clean, but it was the rainbow that marked a new beginning, a sign that no matter what had come before, the earth would endure and life would continue. And so, the promise remained, a promise of peace, of life, and of the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures on the earth. Click here to learn why God chose Abraham for a covenant.